Time to talk Penn State football right here at the Voice of College Football with the Nittany Lions headed to spring practice this week. We got Marty Leap on the line, of course, from Rivals. Catch his work there, Penn State Rivals. Marty, how's it going?
Pretty good, Mark. How are you?
I am doing just fine. Want to carve through the Penn State defense, which is always stellar, at least has been for a good 5 to 10 years at least. And we'll start with that defensive front. So I see where Denai Dennis Sutton's back, 8 sacks. That's good news. Zane Durant back. Good news. Of course, Abdul Carter is going to be one of the first guys off the board at the NFL draft. I see where Smith Gilbert of Vilbert is coming back for his 7th season. So kind of line up the defensive front for us.
Yeah, well, actually, Vilbert, within the last 2 weeks, wound up entering the transfer portal, and will play his final year now at North Carolina with Bill Belichick. So I think that was more of he wasn't guaranteed. He was going to play a role at Penn State. I don't think he was guaranteed to start, though. And as you said, when you're in your 7th year of college football, probably want to be a starter if you have any aspirations of playing in the NFL. But, yeah, the defensive front, I mean, there's a lot of young guys there that they like a lot. I think this defensive line could be really, really good in 2026, but you got to get through 2025 first. Now, Denai Dennis Sutton and Zane Durant's a really good duo to build with. I mean, Dennis Sutton, I thought last year in the playoffs, really starting with Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, so the postseason as a whole, played as well as anybody on that defense not named Abdul Carter. I thought, honestly, after how he played in the postseason, that Dennis Sutton would go pro because I thought he probably made himself a lot of money. But coming back, he's probably got a chance to play himself into being a first-round pick next year, which, that there's a big difference between being a first-round pick and a second-round pick in the NFL draft. So that's a good launching off point. I've said for a few years now, Zane Durant might be the most underrated defensive tackle in the Big Ten. He's undersized a bit, but his motor and his strength are second to none. He's such an underappreciated player. So around them, where it gets interesting. I think Zariah Fisher, a 6th-year senior defensive end, who – his only full season was 2023. He's been so banged up. And he played really well in 2023. Would have played a big role last year, tore his knee in spring ball, missed the entire season. I think Fisher is going to start opposite of Dennis Sutton and play a big role. I think the things that Jim Knowles likes to do with kind of his hybrid jack linebacker / rush end position, think of like a Jack Sawyer type. And I'm not saying Zariah Fisher has the ability of that Jack Sawyer, if you guys do, but playing that position, I think Fisher fits that really well. You're also going to see 2 other young guys, Max Granville and Jalen Harvey, who will both be redshirt freshmen, who the staff is extremely high on. Both played last year, their 4 games, and then in the postseason to preserve their red shirts at defensive end. 2 guys who have very bright futures at Penn State. I think both of them get a lot of run this year. Defensive tackle is really there may be no position on the defensive side of the ball more intriguing to watch this spring because there's a lot of young guys there they like a lot. And, obviously Zane Durant's going to get the veteran treatment this spring. You're not going to see a lot of him. Alonzo Ford, who will start opposite Durant, is recovering from a knee injury he suffered against Minnesota in November, so he's not going to participate in spring ball. So, your young guys, redshirt freshman Xavier Gilliam, redshirt sophomore Ty Blanding, redshirt freshman Owen Wafel, who transferred in from Michigan after the season, and the staff thought he was kind of ahead of schedule where they anticipated. A lot of young guys there. DeAndre Cook is another redshirt freshman who the staff is very high on. Liam Andrews, another redshirt freshman. It's a common theme here. Who was a top 100 recruit and missed his true freshman year due to a shoulder issue, who now he's healthy and looking to make a splash. So again, there's a lot of young talent in that defensive tackle room. And I think their defensive tackles in a year or 2 down the road could be one of the best position groups in the Big Ten, but you've got to get through this season first. So it's going to be about seeing which young guys emerge there. I expect Gilliam. He's had a really good winter last year, really impressed throughout the fall as a true freshman. I expect him to have a big role this fall. I think Blanding will be in the rotation. And then after that, as I mentioned, Liam Andrews, Owen Wafel, DeAndre Cook, all guys who are going to have a chance to make an impact. And another name I should mention, a defensive end, Anai White, from Imhotep Charter in Philadelphia, former 5-star recruit, originally, went to Texas A&M and is transferred to Penn State. And, in a lot of ways, Penn State's kind of become the the way Nick Saban was the place for the wayward coaches, Penn State's kind of become now for the former 5-star recruits in the transfer portal era, and they've had some success, right? Nolan Rucci last year, a former 5-star from Pennsylvania, went to Wisconsin, came to Penn State, and by the end of the year was as good as anybody on Penn State's offensive line. Chop Robinson, 5-star recruit, goes to Maryland, comes to Penn State, turns into a first-round pick. So there's a track record there of having success. So I think Anaya White's a guy who maybe is another year away developmentally and getting to where he needs to be physically, but still probably a name to monitor and a guy Penn State fans are going to watch. He's a 5-star recruit out of Philadelphia. Everybody remembers his recruitment. So just because he started his career at Texas A&M doesn't make him any less intriguing for Penn State fans now that he is in Happy Valley. So again, the defensive line, there is a lot of young talent there, but it's going to be kind of bridging that gap. You feel good at the top with Dennis Sutton and with Zane Durant and with Alonzo Ford and with Zariah Fisher if he's healthy. You feel pretty good about Granville and Harvey at defensive end. And then there's a lot of young guys behind them who have a lot of really good football ahead of them. I think you just need to kind of hope that one or two of those guys can make that leap to where 2025 is where we start to see that good football consistently.
Breaking down the Penn State defense, Marty Leaps here from Rivals. Please check out his work there on the Penn State Rivals platform. Disputed National Champions is the book. You may want to read about 1994 in particular. It's about the 1990s and a reset historically. It's not a history book, folks. It places all those seasons into the modern era and everything else that's gone on in between.